Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Mahatma Gandhi University, I, Dr. Shweta, welcome you to this 5-day faculty development program on rural entrepreneurship organized by the Department of Management Studies, Mahatma Gandhi University, in collaboration with AICTE Training and Learning Academy. At the outset, I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor of MGU, Shri Arvind Kumar IAS, and our Registrar, Professor M. Yadagiri Garu, for encouraging us to organize this program. I also thank AICTE for this initiative to improve the competencies of the faculties. We start this beautiful day with a prayer song. I request all the participants to mute the microphone.
Ramnareddy unmute చేయండి. రేఖన సాంగ్
Before we move on, a brief introduction about our university. Mahatma Gandhi University is upgraded as a university from a PG center in the year 2007 to cater the academic needs of remote students and backward regions. Ever since the inception, the university is committed to the cause and promotion of academic excellence. Our university offers multiple range of programs in arts, humanities, sciences, social sciences, engineering and technology, commerce, and business management. There are around 120 plus colleges which are affiliated to our university. We have a beautiful green campus which is spread over 250 acres in Ellaredi Guda of Nalgonda in the state of Telangana. Moving to the Department of Management Studies, we have the best, distinguished, young, and vibrant academicians having a vast experience in various fields that enable us to impart practical knowledge to the student community. We constantly strive to transform the students into effective managers, researchers, teachers, entrepreneurs, and to be successful leaders. We run with the motto to imbibe ethics and human values among young managers. The department has been running postgraduate programs and a doctoral program. We offer multiple courses, that is MBA Tourism and Travel Management, which is also a 2-year course, and a 5-year integrated MBA course. Coming to the theme of this FDP, the focus of this FDP is to familiarize the participants with the nuances of entrepreneurship in rural background. This FDP is to expose the participants to all the aspects required to promote entrepreneurship among rural youth, which includes identifying and motivating them, exposing them to the requirements of establishing an enterprise from the problems and resources existing in the rural places, government schemes, and sources of generating funds. Now, I would like to introduce our program coordinator, Dr. Ravi Aluwala, who served in multiple academic and administrative positions as Principal, Development Officer for the University, Chief Warden for Boys Hostel, Head of the Department, and presently Director Academic Audit and Chairperson Board of Studies. He published 48 papers both in national and international journals and published 4 books. Under his able guidance, 1 PhD is awarded, 2 PhD candidates submitted their thesis, and 4 others are in progress. I request sir to introduce about the program.
Very good morning, one and all. Warm welcome on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi University, University College of Commerce and Business Management, respected dignitaries and learned colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank to AICTE Atal Learning Center for providing an opportunity to conduct this rural entrepreneurship faculty development program. I'm very much thankful to AICTE people. At the same time, our chief mentor and vice chancellor, Professor Arvind Kumar sir, and also our registrar sir, who is continuously encouraging us to conduct these type of programs, not only in state but the international level. I'm very much thankful for that also. During this pandemic situation, we know that we are not in a position to conduct physical programs. In spite of that, we are going to conduct online programs. For this program, our department also extending their full support for us. Our main objective of this program is, we know all about India. Basically, India is a rural India. Why? Because why I'm saying all these things? Till today, 2011 census clearly stating that 68 to 70% population is staying in rural areas only. But it is totally neglected in terms of infrastructure, power problems, and lack of connectivity and whatnot, everything. This is the high time to concentrate about this program and learn something about development of rural entrepreneurship among the rural population, and we have to move towards sustainability development as well as economic development of the India. Once again, I welcome all the participants. Please participate in this program seriously by following guidelines of AICTE. That is, 80% attendance is mandatory. After that, we are going to be conducting tests, which should be covered. 60% is the qualifying mark. Then only you are going to be getting your certificates. I think this FDP program will inculcate the knowledge regarding rural development program, which will be leads to create new innovative practices in your rural areas. I wish you all the best. Thank you, one and all, for providing this opportunity. All the best, all of you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to introduce our Program Director, Dr. M. Srilakshmi Garu, Principal, University College of Commerce and Business Management. Madam has held many positions such as Chairperson, Board of Studies, Head of the Department of Management Studies, Director, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, and Chairperson, Women Protection Cell. I request Madam to address the participants.
కొద్దిగా టైం అంటే ఒక నెల. ఎందుకు 2-3 నెలలు? అది నేను అది వచ్చేసిద్ది, అదేం ప్రాబ్లం.
Srilakshmi ma'am.
Okay. Good morning to one and all. I, Dr. M. Srilakshmi, Principal, University College of Commerce and Business Management, and the Program Director for today's FDP, welcome one and all to the inaugural session. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Arvind Garu, respected Registrar, Professor M. Yadagiri Garu, FDP Coordinator, Dr. Alwal Ravi Garu, my dear colleagues, participants, and resource persons, I welcome one and all for the AICTE Atal Academy program, 5 days Rural Entrepreneurship program, which is from 23rd to 27th. At the outset, I congratulate the coordinator and the team for making today's program a grand success. I wish all the participants, the program is going to be enables and enhances the rural skills, especially those who are uneducated or becoming entrepreneurs and businessmen who are contributing to the Indian economy. We cannot neglect a rural part of India. So a small example or case study I would like to focus over here is Mitti Cool. I think most of you are aware of it, Mitti Cool refrigerator, which has come out as invention or innovation by Manshuk Bhai, a small village from Gujarat state. He has started in 1990 a company itself. Now he has become a well-known person all over the world. So the concept has started from his wife's request. She wants to have a small refrigerator. It was meant for only the upper class. She wants to have a small refrigerator at home to keep vegetables and fruits. So this concept has made him to be a successful international renowned entrepreneur. Slowly he started making many more products from Mitti Cool, and he has his own website, which is www.mitticool.in. So with this small example, that means what I mean to say that it comes out of a need, it comes out of the idea with basically which they wanted to have. So not necessary entrepreneur need to have to come out of a business after studying MBA. So with this small example, and also being our universities in rural area, the concept is going to be quite useful for our students as well as for all the participants. So thank you one and all. Take from all the resource persons and make it a grand success. Thank you one and all. Thanks for giving me opportunity to speak on inaugural session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your inspiring words. I would now like to introduce our registrar, Mahatma Gandhi University, Professor M. Yadagiri Garu. He is the Dean of Faculty of Commerce and Business Management of Telangana University. Sir has around 3 decades of teaching experience. His area of specialization is accounting and finance. 6 doctoral degrees are awarded under his able guidance. Sir has published more than 70 research articles and published 47 books to his credit. Sir is even editor and member of editorial board in many journals. Sir is even a member of NAAC peer team to assess and accredit higher education institutions. I request Sir to address the participants. Yadagiri sir, please. Sir, you're not audible, sir.
Madam, you are reaching, sir. Please. A minute, please.
Okay, sir. Good morning, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Voice is breaking. Video is not audible. Sorry, visible.
Good morning. Is it audible?
Audible, but video is not visible.
Okay. Now is it clear?
No. It's very blurred. Some fan is seen. Fan.
Okay.
It's very blurred. Audio is also breaking. Voice is also breaking.
Okay, Anai, now okay.
Sir, please speak, sir.
Sir,
రండి సార్ అది వస్తుంది ఫోన్లో పెట్టండి అది వస్తుంది ఫోన్లో పెట్టింది అమ్మాయి టెక్నికల్ సార్ అందుకని తప్పు
New Delhi. రావట్లేదు సార్. రావట్లేదు సార్. లేదు సార్. వస్తుంది సార్ ఇప్పుడు. హలో హలో హలో
John sir, it is
So at
audible
the
now.
outset, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
At the outset, I congratulate the Director FDPP and Coordinator FDP and all other coordinating members for organizing the Faculty Development Program on Rural Entrepreneurship in collaboration with Atal Academy, AICT, New Delhi. So I appreciate the organizers for choosing the very relevant area of rural entrepreneurship, where the government of India much focusing on this rural entrepreneurship during these days. Rural entrepreneurship is any endeavor to organize any business activity in rural area. It is emerging in rural areas, which has capability to drive various attempts in primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, and acts as an effective factor for economic development. Rural entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurship that initiates in rural areas, brings valuable addition to rural resources, engaging largely human resources of that particular area. Thus, it is concluded that rural entrepreneurship must emerge in rural area by any person, whether from rural or urban area, employing most of the, maybe providing the development to that particular area, ultimately leading
Sir,
to
sorry to
economic
interrupt.
development of the.
Breaking in between, it's not very clear. Sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt. It's breaking.
Rural entrepreneurship is inevitable in the economic growth and development of the country, especially for a country like India, whose majority of population live in village. Rural entrepreneurs develop backward regions by generating employment opportunities, halting migration of rural youth, manufacturing output, developing infrastructure, raising standard of living, thereby removes poverty. Entrepreneurial activities are enhanced in the rural areas with the passage of time. Still, it is far less as proportionate to recently. In the month of May 2020, the Prime Minister Modi has launched It is a self-reliant India mission. India's package worth rupees 20 lakh. The Prime Minister had also urged people to adopt in India products to benefit domestic businesses, and that every Indian must become vocal for local, our local. Vocal for our local. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi appealed to all 1.3 billion to boycott imports and services and use products made in India and promote them. The Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign is a call to encourage entrepreneurs, encourage creation of environment of innovation and entrepreneurship. The individuals have been urged to adopt the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign to transform the local India into global India. The Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign is a launch pad to boost entrepreneurship, nurturing innovation, and development of an environment for rural-urban symbiotic development. India's call for a self-reliant economy is not for protectionism or isolationism. It is for adopting a practical growth strategy that would enable the country to identify capitalize on the inherent strengths. In response to the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, there are some corporate firms focusing on building rural entrepreneurs. For example, Coca-Cola and Tata Power, Bankit, Gunavat, these are all some of the corporate firms focusing on building the rural entrepreneurs. The Common Services Centers under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and Coca-Cola India have signed on MOU to boost the Coca-Cola's Gramin e-store platform for key markets in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and Haryana. This enables the availability of affordable, essential hydration to rural communities through village level to promote the availability of consumer products at doorsteps in rural India through local entrepreneurs and e-Kirana stores, common services centers, etc. The common services centers and Coca-Cola's partnership serves the dual purpose for providing last mile connectivity of essential and affordable hydration to citizens' doorsteps, as well as promoting rural entrepreneurship and building livelihoods by mapping supply points to village level entrepreneurs. Similarly, the Tata Power launches marketplace for its rural entrepreneurs, that is saheliworld.org, the website. It will offer products such as apparel, handcrafts, dairy, herbal, agriculture items, and COVID-19 essentials made by self-help groups and farmers. The aim behind the launching of the marketplaces to empower rural entrepreneurs and provide them with financial independence. The items includes the traditional and woven crafts from the artisans, organic products, women apparels, decorations, etc. The another which is focusing on the rural entrepreneurship, that is Bankit. It is a Noida-based fintech startup company. It is helping people who are excluded from the easy access to basic banking and financial services to enjoy the seamless experience of banking and digital payment system. Bankit not only helps people be a part of the fintech revolution in the country, but also creates entrepreneurial opportunities by appointing banking agents and business correspondents. The another one is Gunavat. It is a for-profit social enterprise. The Abhiksha Tagore is the founder of this Gunavat. It makes the contemporary sarees through traditional sustainable weavers that needed to be preserved. Started her journey in January 2018 when she visited Ajrakpur, a village in the Ram of Kutch, out of her love for saris. She decided to make more trips to 3 more cluster weavers in West Bengal, where the artisans had poor living conditions due to the long supply chain between them and the end customers. Now more than 950 weavers across 30 weaving clusters spread over 11 Indian states can sell directly on Gunavat e-commerce platform. The handmade and hand-woven sarees cater to women in meters in metropolitan cities, Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities of India. So like this here, so some of the corporate firms much focusing on to build up the rural entrepreneurship. The Indian government has emphasized on the need for skill development and training for jobs to ensure a wave of entrepreneurship in the rural belts. Creating entrepreneurial opportunities is not only a necessity, but also a magnanimous opportunity to create an ecosystem that propagates the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is the need of however to empowering the rural population of India with jobs and entrepreneurship opportunities and ground level skill development of individuals come with the use of modern technologies. They also need to tie together the collective strength of women from marginalized groups. The vast underlying potential in this sector has prompted many businesses to work toward empowering migrant daily wage earners to turn into rural. The survey depicts that 51% of MSMEs are owned by the rural entrepreneurs in our country. So, friends, since the independence, the government has implemented different policies and schemes for the support and development of rural entrepreneurship, but could not attain the desired results. There is need to apprise the rural entrepreneurship development schemes and programs by government in order to get the desired results in rural areas in the coming days. I hope that this faculty development program certainly enhance the knowledge regarding the rural entrepreneurship. It is very much useful. So I hope that all the participants certainly enhance their ability regarding the rural entrepreneurship, because the organizers invited the excellent people and the people who are so concerned regarding the rural entrepreneurship. All the resources and very much helpful to all the participants. In turn, they will communicate the same to the students in their classrooms, so that it is helpful to enhance the rural entrepreneurship in the country during the coming days. I hope that it will give a fruitful result. I once again congratulate the organizers. I wish you all the best. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for gracing this occasion on online platform and electrifying us about the importance of rural entrepreneurship. Thank you, sir. Now, I invite the chief guest of the program, Dr. W.G. Prasanna Kumar, Chairman, Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education under the Ministry of HRD, Government of India, that strives to promote resilient rural India through higher education interventions. Sir has his doctoral degree in education, basic degree in social work, master's degrees in sociology, public administration, and political science. And sir has done professional education in environmental economics, public relations, communication, and training and development. The national initiative of reviving Mahatma Gandhi's idea of Nai Talim, spearheaded by Dr. Prasanna Kumar, has met unprecedented success at both national and state levels. As Professor and Head, Center for Climate Education and Disaster Management in Dr. MCR HRDI, Sir has conducted several capacity building and action research programs in climate education, disaster management, and crowd management. He has handled many regional, national, and international environmental educational programs and events. He was Director, in National Green Corps in the state government for over 11 years and Senior Social Scientist in State Pollution Control Board for 6 years. Sir has conducted various curriculum and non-curriculum related training programs in environmental education. He was a resource person for AP Judicial Academy, AP Police Academy, AP Forest Academy, EPRI, Commissionerate of Higher Education and Intermediate Education, State Council for Education Research and Training, and National Council for Education Research and Training, New Delhi, CPR Environmental Education Center, Chennai, and Center for Environmental Education, Ahmedabad. Dr. W.G. Prasanna Kumar was trained in community consultation for development projects in EPA, Victoria, Australia in 1997. Trained as State Chief Information Officer by IIM Ahmedabad and MCR HRDI, Government of Andhra Pradesh in the year 2004, and trained in environmental education and waste management techniques by JICA, Japan in the year 2011. He was awarded Best State Nodal Officer of National Green Corps Award from Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi in the year 2008. Jal Mitra Award from Earthwatch Institute of India and WaterAid, New Delhi in the year 2014. And Certificate of Commendation for the services in UN Conference of Parties to Convention for Biodiversity by the Government of Andhra Pradesh in the year 2012. Sir, it's our privilege to hear you today. I request Sir to give the keynote address and handle the first session on rural entrepreneurship and overview and role of educational institutions.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Ravi, for inviting me. Thank you, Dr. Sri Lakshmi ji, and beloved registrar of the university, and wonderful people from the university, and distinguished participants of this 5-day faculty development program. Wish you a very, very good morning and great health and prosperity to all of you. We are living in times of difficulty, but also times of hope. So entrepreneurship is hope. Entrepreneurship is driving hope. Entrepreneurship is practicing hope. Entrepreneurship is promoting hope. Entrepreneurship is giving examples of hope being successful. So it is in this context that you guys are doing this wonderful faculty development program that you planned. You've seen the structure of the program. It's tailor-made for the faculty members. Friends, entrepreneurship is to be learned, cannot be taught. So if it is to be learned, it is to be learned by practice. So how do we learn by practice? You get into practice, then you learn from that. If we do not get into entrepreneurship, we cannot learn entrepreneurship. We may say, we may give a lecture, or we may give a course on entrepreneurship, or we may conduct a symposium, a seminar, a workshop on entrepreneurship. But one doesn't get into becoming an entrepreneur unless you are trying to be an entrepreneur, and unless you're practicing getting into the field and doing it. So it is in this context that we have this faculty development program. So if you are talking about entrepreneurs, where are these entrepreneurs available? How do we find these entrepreneurs, and how do you make yourself an entrepreneur? How do you train yourself to be an entrepreneur? Or how do you sustain entrepreneurship as a motivation? India today, every year in India, we have around 1 million people who are joining unemployed strata. So when you have 1 million people joining unemployed strata, and if you are looking at employment of all these people, we are 100% sure that the organized sector will not be able to provide so much of employment. At best, it may be able to provide some 40,000, 50,000 people employment. So what does that mean? That means we are going to have the rest of them left in the market. From the time the student joins the college, he's been told that you will get into this employment, that employment, possibility of this employment, that employment, or whatever. So the student is thinking that he's going to get employment. And at the end of the course, he understands that he is not going to get employed because none of his seniors in the past 5 years or 10 years have got employment, or maybe one from each of the classes got employment, which means that rest of the 18 or 20 or 65 or whatever is the class size, they have not got employment, which means that unemployability is clear. So when we are working in an unemployable situation, when the uncertainty of employment is there and a certainty of unemployment is there, what do we work on? We work on something called as what is that the student can do, or what is that we can do, what is that can happen in the field. So we were trying to look at it from Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education. How do we handle a situation where the student is not likely to get employment and he knows that he is not going to get employment, and the faculty members also know that the student is not going to get employment, and still he is pursuing the course, and what will happen to the student after the course is completed? This is what we are working on. How do we handle the situation? How do we introduce this concept of being competent, being capable of using the competence by the students themselves? And that is where we found entrepreneurship as one of the bases. So from Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education, we started working on creating rural entrepreneurship development cells in each of the business management college across the country. Right now, today we have around 1,755 rural entrepreneurship development cells being constituted in the colleges across the country, which are handling or which are offering business management at BBA level or at the MBA level. So while you are conducting a course, you know that the course is not going to yield employment to all of them who are going through the course. It's wise for all of us in the education sector to provide an alternate, which is entrepreneurship. Provide an alternate right from the day one. When the student joins the course, from that day he needs to be shown this alternate path, which has led to a lot of people getting employed themselves, or they are getting employed in their own firm. See, if you look at the roadside shops across the country, you will find that they are all entrepreneurs. You are not able to understand that they are entrepreneurs, but they are all entrepreneurs. Every farmer is an entrepreneur. Farmer is taking risk. Farmer is purchasing. Farmer is maintaining inventory. Farmer is producing. He is in the operations sector. Farmer is taking the product to the market, and farmer is pricing the product, and farmer is able to draw some investment back from the returns that he has got. So every farmer is an entrepreneur. Every farm gives an opportunity to teach entrepreneurship. See, when we purchase a kg of rice, we do not get the experience of that kg of rice. So the kg of rice is 40 rupees. But when we go to the wholesale market and purchase that rice, then we have an experience of looking at varieties of rice and the farmers coming there, or the agents coming there and selling the rice. Then we go to the mandi, the farm market, where the farmer is selling the grain. If you is not selling the grain, but the whole grain with the paddy is being sold, not the rice. Then from there, if you go to the farm itself and purchasing the same paddy, then you have a different experience. If you own that farm and somebody is tilling that land and giving you the opportunity of taking that produce then you have a different experience. If you actually go and participate in actually seeding the plant or the initial plantation, and then you get into transplantation, that's a different experience. So the experience is added to the product, then the price of the product gets enhanced, the value of the product gets enhanced because the price of the product is put, the value of the product increases, hence the price of the product increases. We say farm fresh product, or farm fresh fruits, or farm fresh vegetables, or I have purchased from the farmer directly. The farmer gives you the experience of being there, being part of this entrepreneur, the total group of entrepreneurs or the crowd of entrepreneurs that we have. Across the country, we have 50% or around 50% of people who are agriculture dependent, which means this country has around 50% of people who are entrepreneurs. They are agricultural entrepreneurs. They've been taking risks. They've been taking benefits of the risk. They have been taking the losses from the risks, and they have been continuously pursuing with their product line. They have been continuously pursuing with their product line. So every farmer is a case for us. Every farmer gives a case study for us. There are farmers who stop at the level of production. There are farmers who go to the level of miller and mill the product. There are farmers who take the farm product and go to the wholesale market and sell it there. There are farmers who can actually, from land, from their farm to your house, they can transport the grain through their own infrastructure, their own branding of the product. They can say it's an organic product, from so and so farm. This vegetable is from so and so farm. They can brand it in a way that it gets the value. So value addition is an area where entrepreneurship can be very, very highly successful. Without value addition, the product price doesn't enhance much unless you are branding it in a way that the product has a speciality in it. So keeping this in mind, entrepreneurship has to be learned by being part of the work that we are trying to, the part of the work that from which we can learn from. Then only we can actually get into entrepreneurship. How does he get the capital? How does he create the capital? How does he take the capital, and how does he invest the capital? How long does he retain the money there? How long is the return on, when is it going to be the return? And what is the return on investment that we are going to get? Every time the farmer is calculating. There is a possibility that the farmer is not calculating, not using the knowledge that we have in business analytics, where we are looking at what was the last year's price, what is this year's price, and how is that this market can give better price, or this product can give better market. So we calculate that. That knowledge, if it is brought into the farm sector, it can make huge difference. That is what we found. And we started looking at the farmer producers organizations across the country. We have more than 5,000 farmer producers organizations across the country. We started networking with them. We had district level interactions with them in around 145 districts across the country. We spoke to the farmer producers organization. We told them, you have the issues relating to handling of your investment, handling of your product, handling of the inputs, handling of your output. You have issues relating to getting the manpower, the farm labor. You have issues relating to logistics, taking the product to the market. You have issues relating to capital, some dead capital, and you have issues relating to managing the water that as an input, managing the pesticides as an input, managing the fertilizers as an input, managing the seeds as an input. So all these are basically business issues, business areas which require a little bit of technical input. That technical input can be brought from the management institutions. Management institutions lack opportunities for practical exposure to their students. And this is an opportunity that you get when you get linked to the farmer, get linked to one of your student gets linked to each of the farmer. Like that, you have 100 students, 100 students can get linked to 100 farmers and understand, learn from how the farmer invests, how the farmer produces, and how the farmer actually reaps the benefit and finally gets the return on investment. So this is the context which we were looking at. And is there an organization or is there an organized method of handling this? Looking at the unorganized farm sector, agriculture sector, Government of India and state governments have also come forward with aggregation of the farm product. Actually, farm product gets into the difficulty of inability to fix the price only because they are in smaller quantities. They are dispersed. So how do we aggregate them? How do we get them together? How do we lock them together in a way that the scale, economies of scale operate and the scale increases? That is by clustering or by getting them together. So to get this aggregation or clustering or getting them together, the farmer producer organizations, which are Section 8 companies in the as per the Companies Act, they are formed, and the farmers take the benefit of of aggregation and look at value addition to the farm product. Value addition to the farm product by way of processing the product, by way of creating a new product out of the product, maybe flakes out of the corn or branded flakes out of the corn that they produce. So like that, they diversify, they value add to the product in a way that the price goes, price is increased and appropriate price is paid for the product. So the farmer producers organizations give an opportunity for the students to get involved, to get into internship. Now, entrepreneurship has two other ships to actually travel in when we are talking from the business management education perspective. The first ship that the student has to get into is internship. That is, while he is doing his course, he has to get involved with any enterprise in the neighborhood. If you're looking at a rural enterprise includes the rural shops, rural small shops that they have, the shop which is handling the hair cutting, to the shop which is handling the tea, or shop which is handling the provisions, or shop which is handling the PDS public distribution system, or shop which is handling the agricultural inputs, or shops which are dealing with the daily requirements of the people there. So each of them give an opportunity to look at the life cycle of the business over a period of 1 year, or over a period of 6 months, or over a period of 1 month. When does the shopkeeper get the material? How does he get the material? Where does he get the material? Where does he how does he create his capital? How does he get into increase in the capital? How does he maintain the shop, and how does he maintain the shop space, the window space in the shop, and how do we see that this total process is documented, is practiced, is studied, and is learned from. So every student gets the opportunity of internship by getting linked to the rural enterprise, which I consider every farm or every agricultural operation as an enterprise in itself. So now, while the student gets the opportunity of being with a farmer or being with a farmer producer organization as an enterprise, or as an enterprise through the process of internship, while he is doing his course, maybe at the end of the first semester or second semester, he gets a direct interaction. He gets into direct interaction with the entrepreneurs directly. Entrepreneurs. So this gives extraordinary opportunity of actually being with the people who are making the work happen. That is being with the entrepreneurs. Next is immediately after their course, they need to get into apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is the second ship which the student has to go into before he gets into entrepreneurship, that the final ship is. So in the second ship of apprenticeship, immediately after the course, the student has to get involved and get engaged with the organization of his choice or the organization which is available in the area. So get involved with the farmer, get involved with the shopkeeper, get involved with the farmer producers organization, get involved with the cottage industry, get involved with the local horticulturists who are producing fruits and vegetables and selling them, or get involved with the farmer, the fish farmers, or get involved with the dairy farmers who give the opportunities of learning from them, or sericulture farmers. So each of them have a plate of opportunities for us. A full thali is available. We can choose to learn from and get into supporting mode by which you will also earn a little bit. That is apprenticeship that one student has to go through. And finally, entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship skills or entrepreneurship opportunities are to be thrown open through the entrepreneurship development cell. That is why we focus on developing the rural entrepreneurship development cell-based activities. So each college needs to have a rural entrepreneurship development cell from where they get the opportunities to learn from by practicing entrepreneurship in the college itself. Maybe they can get something from the market and sell it, get from the wholesale market and sell it. The seasonal items can be sold. There is one concept called becho becho bech ke sikho. Every student needs to get into selling something, purchasing something, producing something and selling something. Only then the entrepreneurship skill will build. Experiencing entrepreneurship is important. That is to be internalized into the course that the student is going through, whether it is at BBA level or at MBA level. Unless that is done, the education in especially management education may not yield much results. We come to know that there are thousands of people who graduate from the business schools across the country who may not or who are not presently able to get employment in the sector or in the area that they wish to get into. They are also not able to get into business management as a profession or as a function itself. Entrepreneur is one who also undertakes the operations, undertakes marketing, undertakes financial management, and undertakes the product management completely. The total 4 or 5 areas of managing human resource, finance, operations, and market, all these are done by one single person. That is entrepreneurship. That is where the entrepreneur starts functioning from. Later on, as the enterprise grows, maybe for each of the specialization or each of the area, they may employ somebody. See, when you have every year 1 million young people getting into the job market and they are not employable, then what do we require? Do we require companies which are 5,000 crores or 10,000 crores companies, or do we require 10,000 or 5,000 1 crore companies? This 10,000 or 1,000 or 1 lakh, we need to have 5 lakh companies or 10 lakh companies or 10 lakh firms or 5 lakh firms. So that is how the entrepreneurship can grow, not by way of promoting 10,000 crore companies or 5,000 crore companies. They will not give you so much of opportunity of entrepreneurship. So every vendor on the street you will find they have a price. They have purchased a product at a particular price. They are able to sell it at a price. They have a margin fixed, and they sell it at a very low margin but very competitive. And they do not look at swallowing the neighborhood, swallowing the neighbor's product or work. You find a hotel on the roadside. The hotel may have a shop which is selling the pawn. The pawn shop owner is different. The hotel owner is different, and the fruit vendor who's sitting there also is different. So each of them, the shopkeeper won't like to own up or won't like to swallow up all the others. That is the beauty of rural enterprise. Each one has an opportunity to live, and each one has a scale which is lower scale, but gives opportunities for excelling and learning from each other. So rural market, rural enterprise is an equal opportunity market. Women can get into it. If you go into places like any village, you will find women getting into selling product, procuring product, working on the product, whether it is cottage industry, whether it is farm, or whether it is agricultural byproduct, whether it is making of papads or making of food-based products. The women have equal opportunity of being there. The milk vendors have equal opportunity. Women are there. Every person who has milk cattle can get into opportunity, can get into entrepreneurship. So this is what is the characteristic of being an entrepreneur. So opportunities where a person can diversify. See, a rural, if you look at the farm sector, they can diversify from the paddy and wheat to millets. They can diversify from millets into horticulture, vegetable culture. So they can have a diverse market. They can work on a cash crop. They can work on organic food grains or organic vegetables, organic fruits. So the opportunities for diversification and increasing the market share in each of the market segment are available in the rural side. So as a faculty member who is trying to promote rural entrepreneurship, how do we promote rural entrepreneurship? There is an opportunity of writing cases and creating cases and discussing with students the cases. The case study is something from case discussion. Case discussion, every minute there is a decision making which is learned by the student by way of looking at the class text and the context, class text as well as the context of the particular operation or particular incident or particular case that the student is discussing. So it is important that rural entrepreneurship is taught not by the theory of entrepreneurship but by the practice of entrepreneurship, by way of getting the cases of successful entrepreneurs, whether they are rural agri-based or rural farm, rural animal husbandry based or rural horticulture based or rural cottage based. Every farm can give the experience, as I mentioned, of rural tourism. A tourist can go and have something which is farm fresh directly from the farm. He can live on the farm for a day or two or the tour time, and he can experience of being with the farm, participating in the farm operations, and also having the farm food, farm fresh food. So you can give those experiences of rural marketing and rural tourism which go together as an entrepreneurship opportunity, and that there could be several cases which can be a learning experience for the students. So when the concept is complex, you need to use case discussion methodology, because entrepreneurship is not just marketing, it is not just HR, it is not just operations, it is not just handling the finance, it is all of them together. And the concept is also ambiguous, because entrepreneurship, we are looking at the entrepreneurship as happening from the village perspective, from the poorer entrepreneurs perspective to the richer, or the scales could be at different levels. So when the concept is ambiguous, you get into case discussion methodology. And you get the real life situation into the classroom by using the case discussion methodology. So it is important that you take a case and you have a discussion in the classroom where the student gets the opportunity of experiencing somebody's experience. Students, when they are in internship, they can also produce a case on what is happening around the enterprise they are involved in. They can learn from that and they can share that learning in the classroom. So actual situation can be brought into the classroom. So there are decisions relating to what type of seeds I need to purchase, what type of fertilizer or which brand I need to purchase, and how much water do I need to give. So you are taking decision on irrigation, you are taking decisions on farm produce, you are taking decision on when to plant, when to transplant, when to handle. So you are looking at the farmer as a decision maker. Case gives you the opportunity to look at the business situation as well as the theory, keeping the learning objective of making the student competent to take decisions which are entrepreneurship oriented. So you need to have a conceptual framework, weave your conceptual framework along with the case that the student is experiencing. So that is where I think we as faculty members of business management can promote entrepreneurship. You can have small cases or small anecdotes. See, if you find a somebody who's selling groundnuts. In the morning, he's selling the groundnuts near the school. In the evening, he's selling the groundnuts near the cinema theater or a wine shop or a place where liquor is sold, or on the park side or on the water side. So the same person is shifting from one place to other place, and how is he making margin? See, you may have a vegetable vendor who is selling on the first day of the vegetable farm fresh vegetable. The price is different when compared to the third day or fourth day when it is likely to get rotten or get in a bad condition. That is when we price it a different way. Same, he would have purchased something at 8 rupees, he would have sold it at 18 rupees. At the same time, he would have sold it for 6 rupees or 5 rupees or 4 rupees when the price crashes because the quality of the product crashes. So this experience which the farmer or a vegetable vendor gives, you have the old rice and new rice. When the old rice is sold, the price of the old rice is higher and the new rice price is lower. How does he store the rice? How does he get to the market, and how does he see that the price that he is looking for is received for the product that he is selling? So these experiences can be small mini cases, or it could be a case study of a case history of a particular farmer, how he is turned to be an organic farmer from being a high pesticide, high fertilizer and high yielding variety of seeds using farmer. So a direct experience of one of the farmer can be shared through the case, or it could be from the public sources. Something comes in the newspaper, that could be brought. The student's experience with a farmer could be brought into the classroom. Student experience with a shopkeeper or a business can be brought into the classroom. Or experience which is there in the field can be brought into whether it is Nirmal handicrafts or some dolls which are made, or some implements which are made, or some agricultural products which have been value added by food processing, and you have a better quality or better price for the product. Or even the horticulture products which are made into dry vegetable or made into jam and jelly, the fruits made into jam and jelly and being sold. We also find in many of the urban areas where fruit salad is sold. Fresh fruits are cut and a salad of mixture of fruits is sold. So fruit price may be 10 rupees, but fruit salad price comes to 30 rupees. So that is how they add value to the product. So these aspects can be brought into through the case studies or case discussions. In fact, the students can be made to play the roles of a shopkeeper or a wholesaler, retailer, the total supply chain can be performed as a role play, and students can learn from each other. So whether it is role play or questionnaire based, a set of questions, a barrage of questions in the beginning of the class will make the student to get into an, if this is the case, how do I handle it? If that is the case, how do I handle it? This is how he handled it. How would I handle it? So this questioning, juxtaposing, and looking from, learning from each other, this is the method of teaching entrepreneurship when we are trying to promote entrepreneurship through the colleges or educational institutions. Practical experience brought into the class, students sent to the classroom. This experiential learning is the basis of learning from each other. So, so context is important there, and there is also an emotional content which is important there. And the less you give it, the more there is discussion in the classroom, the more there is learning from the classroom. So context gives the colors of the particular aspect that we are looking at it. So it is the same farmer, but a farmer in a dryland area, farmer in a wetland area, farmer in a dry season, farmer in a rainy season, a farmer in a drought area, drought season, and farmer in a flood season. The context gives the color, and we learn from each other. And there are so many colors available in the field which can be brought into the classroom to teach rural entrepreneurship. So every participant has some background, some learning which he gets from his experience or which he learns, and then that is what he shares. So the classroom gets the opportunity of discussing and learning from each other in a case discussion methodology. It is not that the text has given everything. There are many things which are unexplored or not known, or that angle is not visible for many people. Each person looks at the world from a different angle. So when you are doing case discussion, you begin with the end in mind. What is that you are looking at? You are looking at the student getting into being an entrepreneur. So getting entrepreneurship into the classroom is taking the student into the entrepreneurship and getting that experience back into the classroom that we are looking at it. So while doing this case discussion, you need to connect with the students, get them connected to the field situation, and see that the topic is handled in a very, very structured manner. And you have lead questions on if this is the case in Himachal Pradesh, what would be the case in Telangana? Or what if this is the case in Nalgonda? What would be the case in somewhere in Gujarat or Saurashtra? So you try to juxtapose experiences or areas so that there are leading questions and there is a transition from one to the other. Okay, you got it like this, but if you shift from paddy to something else, or if you shift from rural from weaving, from handloom to handicraft, or if you have a mixture of handloom and handicraft, what will happen? How does this work? What is the array of experience that is available in the village, in the rural space, that can be brought into the class? So at the end, when we are doing the case discussion, you need to revise the point that you have discussed and also get the takeaways from that. Whatever are the learnings from this will have to be repeated so that the students get the opportunity of experiencing and experimenting. Experiencing from the field and experimenting in the classroom, or taking the experience of somebody else and experimenting that. So you have the advantage of a mentor who's you. As a faculty member, you can help the student to learn from the field and you can take the feedback. And the more you have a class discussion basing on the experience of various students in the classroom, different students in the classroom, and that is what is going to enrich learning. And I'm sure all of you who are business management teachers or people who are interested in rural entrepreneurship will get into getting rural entrepreneurship into the classroom and taking the classroom into the rural entrepreneurship area of operation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for gracing this occasion on online platform and electrifying us about the importance of rural entrepreneurship. On my behalf and on the behalf of Mahatma Gandhi University, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the chief guest for gracing this occasion and for the efforts in delivering a talk on the role of educational institutions in rural entrepreneurship. It's always been our pleasure, sir, to have you with us, and we look forward to many more in the future. Thank you, sir.